So let's talk. How do spirits communicate? Let's talk
Well,
about that.
Kelly, you start.
Well, it's so
Because
interesting. They start
every
they
reading is different. So we got to realize that, number one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every reading is different. Is that what you just said?
Every medium works differently. But
Yeah.
yes, how does and what would you, how would you answer that?
Well, I would say that for me, I my clairaudience is how I tune in. It seems to me that spirit gets very close to me and gives me messages, and I can hear them. I can actually hear them talk. I can also get impressions. I get pictures. I get memories. I get thoughts. And you taught me this, James, to really go back. It's like catching what did you, like a cloud or something. It's very, it's a
It's a subtleness.
sensitive, it's a subtleness to it. I used to, as a beginning medium, I would kind of rush in like this. Only
Wait,
fools rush in. Doesn't
say
work
for
that way.
a lot of mediums, I got to go get it. No,
Yeah.
you don't.
Nope. No, no, no.
The
It's
opposite.
like, see, it's like a feather, that just comes in.
Feather in your palm. You put your palm.
Exactly. And for me, I think the best thing I have is the clairaudience, is to hearing.
Now,
What
clairaudience, how does it work for you? Do you hear thoughts? Do you hear actual voices?
I do both. So I'll hear voices. I'll hear
Objectively, I would think.
objectively. Yes. Yes.
Outside of you.
Outside of me, I'll hear a voice. I'll hear my name. I'll hear somebody else's name. I'll hear a big loud thing in my head. My name is John, or whatever it is. I'll hear it. And so I hear a lot. I get a lot of names, and I hear that a lot. What else do I do? And then they'll send memories, and then I'll get the feelings of it.
So the first thing, Kelly, overall, like most mediums, every single person in this room, everyone on the planet mostly, are clairsentient, which is clairsensing. So we all, first of all, sense. So you're highly sensitive. We call it empathy, empathetic, sensitivity. So we all have that. That's the number one clair, I guess you say. But then, of course, then it gets into your own personal makeup, and you're clairaudient. Now, as you hear those voices, like objectively, I hear them subjectively. So I hear in my head thoughts that are just not in my head, it's my mind. So, and the way to communicate is through the mind to mind. So when they work, it's so interesting because I really want to find out more about their world. And part of what I'm going to start doing now, this Friday is my first, it's a VIP meeting this Friday, and I'm going to talk about what spirits do on the other side. But I'm going to get delving into, for the next couple of months, probably 2 or 3 months, with the work I do, getting more into the process of them. How do they prepare for our communication?
Because that's a great topic.
Right? Because I know that they prepare ahead of time to do a meeting, like a demonstration. I know they prepare for a private reading because in their world, that there's no time. And that's already happened. So what they have to do is concentrate their thoughts. They really have to concentrate so much their energy, and that create from their mind. The mind lives on. The brain dies of physical death, but the mind is always there. And within that mind space is all of your thoughts, your memories, your lifetimes, past, future, and your memories you've shed in this current lifetime. And what they do is they have to really slow down their vibration, really concentrate to slow down those thoughts. And then we really will have to practice at sending the thoughts, the energy, to the mind, from their mind to the mind of the medium. Yeah. And then the medium has to be open and surrendered to such a point that it's really simplified into their consciousness, and they pick it up. And the more one listens, as far as a medium, we were just talking about, the more of a medium will listen, like putting the palm out, waiting for that feather, the more they'll receive. Because if the medium goes rushing for it, they won't get it. And the spirit people, just because they're in the spirit world, it doesn't mean they know how to communicate, because there are many techniques, there are many ways. There are some that are very good at it, excellent. There are some that don't know anything about it. And last week when I did a demonstration, a man said, I've never done this before. It's a silly type of thing. I don't understand it. And then he attempted it, and it worked for him. But it's so interesting how they look for different ways to communicate. So the number one way that spirits do communicate is a dream state. So most people have dreams of their loved ones, because we're out of our body at night. We go to the other side at night, in the other world, the other realms, I'm going to say, and we see our loved ones and our guides, and we see scenes before they happen that we're working on. We go over there, we prepare for lessons that we're going to be learning and so forth, that we're going to go through. And really, I know you've been to great temples over there, Kelly. I know when
I have been.
You go to the temples, you go to the halls of wisdom.
That's true.
I can never catch up. You're
I'm busy.
Kelly, let's go this one. I'm going over here. I'm like, but Kelly, let's go see this one. No,
okay. Over here. I think that's our next cartoon, by the way. That's a good one. I like that one. But you know that's true. And I know that we travel through all kinds of places.
Of that or a realization.
I do too.
Your coattails, like I'm reaching for you, like no, go over here.
Let's go over here.
We've done trips before, trips, like cruises, and we walked to cities and towns. And Kelly, look at it. We do that anyway.
We do it naturally.
In the astral world. Yeah. But so the number one way people that when you have a dream of your loved one, you're probably seeing them, and many times the conscious mind will not pick it up. But sometimes it does, and it feels more like a dream. I call it a crossover because it's more than a dream. You feel like you're there.
I call it a lucid position, a lucid dream. Yeah,
I'll never forget. I had a boyfriend once, and he passed away, and we're very close. He used to come out from Florida every summer for 10 years, and we used to. And it was great, and it was great. He was wonderful, wonderful guy. He was a teacher, and when he passed, it was very, very sad. And we're good friends, and he passed of AIDS. It was sad. It was very sad. And I said, when you come over, you're going to survive this. He goes, oh, you think so? So, yeah. He goes, you mean to be floating around the universe? Like, yeah, you'll see. And he's come back, and he felt like a fool for not believing me, believe it or not. But what he did in a dream state, I'll never forget this. One of the strongest dreams I had, I was in my old apartment that he used to come to in LA. And it was if I was coming down from the morning for a cup of tea or coffee, and I'm sitting at the table in the dining room like we used to do. He opens up the cupboard, and there were all the tea boxes and the labels on them, as if it was right there. So he created that.
Yeah.
He created that scene from my mind that I know that he's there with me, and I'm with him, and then I'm visiting him, and I knew that was a visitation, but it was so real. So we all have those. It's the number one way the spirit will communicate is setting up a space, creating that with their thoughts and their mind, a scenario. You've had those, Kelly.
Well, I've had those many times. In front of you would say I've had a lot of ex-boyfriends come to me in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping in a dream, and to apologize and tell me how they died and apologize for treating me badly and all of these things. But I'll tell you, James, I had something that happened, and I've shared this with you. I had something that happened. It was actually in like November. No, it was in January of 2021. So COVID had been ravaging everything. And I was in my office where I am now, and it was like 6 p.m. and I was watching the news actually. And all of a sudden, a loved one just showed up. And he didn't just show up as in, I have an idea he's here. He physically, in my mind, I saw him completely
objectively
outside appear. And he told me he had died of COVID. And it was shocking. It threw me it really threw me. I remember when something like this happened to Mavis Patilla once. You remember the story where she was ironing?
Yes.
And that man just showed up. It was just like that.
There was a bomb in a package or something. Yeah. And ended up at the airport. Yeah, that's right.
And so, that does happen. It's very rare.
It's where it takes a lot of energy, and also the energy of the medium, the person. It's happened to me twice. It happened to me once with Maisie. I told that story where the lady appeared, and she was my great aunt, and it was like wearing a gray dress and the buttons down to the bottom to the top, 1930s, and was my great aunt. She said her name is Maisie May, and that's one time. The other time, actually, I've been 3 times.
Okay.
When I was a little boy in grade school, when the first spirit I saw a boy walked through a window in the classroom. I used to daydream as a kid because I'm not a morning person. So at home in the morning, I look like that. Once a nun hit me because I remember that.
Oh, gosh.
Knocked me out 5 minutes. I woke up 5 minutes on the floor and I'm looking up. I was like, whoa. Talk about it. Yeah, unconscious. So that was the first time of the boy who said, I knew you in the Civil War. Never forget. And his name was Andrew. And then he left. I was like, but then the other time was my mother passed away. Okay. And I was working for some producer, a production company. Now, People for the American Way, Norman Lear's political organization. We used to fight religious right back in Jerry Falwell days. And I remember that she had just passed, and I just got back. I remember I had to fly back to New York for a funeral, and I had no money, and I went to Macy's to get a jacket for the funeral. And I remember I returned it on the way back because I couldn't afford it. So I returned it. And that day I went to work, and I'm at my desk, and my mother came to me, and I looked up, and I'm like, oh, and she was right there. I was so frightened. I got
Right?
I ran out of the hallway. I was so freaked out. Isn't that
Well,
weird? For
it is, but I was frightened too. It just caught me off guard. But I told you what happened with my baby granddaughter this week.
To share that with everybody,
It
it's
was
so amazing.
unbelievable. My granddaughter is going to be 3 in September, so she's not even 3 years.
We have gremlins.
There it goes. And then she says to me, Gigi.
Kelly, I think you're froze a little bit.
Oh, am I frozen? Am I back again?
You're back now.
Okay, good. See, telling the story, I tell you, I think this is what happened. So I'm walking down, holding her little hand, and we're in this hotel, and then she says, Gigi, it's spooky. And I said, it's spooky? What's spooky? And she said, ghosts. And I said, ghosts? They're ghosts? And she says, I said, you mean, is it Nana? Thinking my mom, maybe. And she said, no, Indians. I was stunned because it's not a term that she would know to say. But not only that, we found out the next day, we went on a boat tour of where we were, and we found out that they had gotten rid of all the Indians and built this facility.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. So she wasn't scared. She was more like, it's spooky.
To me, that sense, that feeling I get with that, because she's young, she's 3 years old. So
yes.
she's in between worlds, really.
Yes, correct.
Mine says spirit world. She's just come from the spirit world.
Yes.
So she would think that way, and she's stepping into the physical. So young toddlers from 1 to about 4 or 5 go in between worlds. They step in between spaces.
Yes.
So she was in a space that vibration, that thought, those thought forms, that energy was there, and she was in between those times and space, and that happened.
And wouldn't you agree that toddlers are anywhere from like 2 to 5? I think you're absolutely right, or 1 to 5, that they can see, and that our loved ones come to them often, because I know she always talks about my mom, coming to her with the blonde hair, and she says, Nana.
Yeah, always. I used to see my grandfather when I was in the crib. I remember my grandfather used to come to me, because I was my mother, I'll never forget it. My mother and father put me in the crib. I think I was like 2 years old, maybe, and right around there. And I remember they put me in the crib to go to sleep, and I wanted to stay up. Of course, I was a night owl. I wanted to stay up because they were having fun in the living room, the other room, and I wanted to be part of that fun. And I'm lying in there crying, and I'll never forget, night after night, a man in the corner with white hair would come over and hold it like a mobile. And play with it and play with it. And years later, I've told the story before. Years later, my grandma was going through a photograph album. And I said, "Wait, who's that man?" She said, "Oh, that's your grandfather. He died before you were born." And it was his exact man. So kids are very, very open. Another thing I want to talk quickly for people, because a lot of people experience this. Spirit can come through in signs in different ways, communicate electrically. So if they had an aptitude for maybe electrical, to figure things out, science or technical things, many times they can, because of their soul makeup, can affect the electromagnetic field of things. So computers, radios,
light bulbs,
lights blowing out, going on and off, happens a lot, especially when Kelly and I are together. Forget
about it. Yeah.
But it happens. So they can affect things electrically. They can affect things like your favorite song comes on or something. Radio, like, what? Now, how does that happen? Well, and they can come through butterflies and birds. Are those signs? Yes, they give us signs. Now, are they the butterfly? Are they the bird? I don't know what you think about this, Kelly, but what I think is, and we might be different on this, my thought is that they will come into our mind, and they send a picture of themselves to our mind as we're looking at a bird or a butterfly, and we have the association of our loved one with that bird or the butterfly.
Yes.
That's the way I can think of. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that. And while I was on this trip this past weekend, there was another license plate. License plates are big, everybody. It was parked right in front of my car, and the license plate was L-U with a heart. My mother's name was L-U, was Lou. So I know that she was there, and whether Lulu saw her or not, I know she was there. But those license plates are a big one. I always look, and cloud formations, rainbows, those are big ones. Hearts, like all of a sudden you'll be walking and find a heart something. That's huge. Huge with those.
They're all around. And for them to get to our minds and to intelligence of that world, and the love vibration is so strong, that frequency they use to come through. So all different signs, smells, your favorite perfume or aftershave, that happens all the time. Again, depending on the how the spirit wants to communicate. So they might be have an aptitude toward scents, perfumes. Or sometimes I'd be around, and there's jewelry, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden I think of a loved one that passed over. No, that was her favorite earrings or dresses. Whatever. They have different ways. There's another one which people should realize, that spirit can affect your mind in a way where they will come so close to your mind, and they will. It could be a bit of clairvoyance there, that you'll be walking down an aisle of a store and you look up and it looks like, oh my God, that looks like my mother, or that looks like
yes,
over, and it looks just like their face. Now, is it? I don't know. I think that the spirit person is in putting your mind, placing the thought of that person there in your mind, so your clairvoyance, and it looks like it's them from a distance.
So my sister and I had that experience over the weekend also. It was a busy weekend. It was a busy weekend. It was the wildest thing. We were having dinner and the kids got up to go to the bathroom. And I turned to Carol and we both looked at each other and we said, look at that man. Doesn't he look like a friend of ours that we knew who had passed? And I'm telling you, it looked just like him. And we couldn't stop staring at him. And I know that was a sign. I know it was. You know, I know without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, we're just... I don't know. The spirit world is so around us all the time. I mean, I had an event today, which I'm not going to go into, but I had a bad thing happen from somebody who treated me really unkindly. And then I had someone today did just the opposite, and they were like an angel. And I'm still in the glow of the goodness and kindness, that there is the good and kindness out there. And when things happen, again, badly or not right, like in my situation, I don't think it was necessarily me. I think I was the conduit, in that person or whatever had to go through a lesson, and I was providing that scenario for that person to go through it, because I knew it had nothing really to do with me, but there was a scenario, there was a scene there that this person learned from. So I don't try to judge it, but it just shows you just the different people and how they behave and different things.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. But I know spirit is always around us if we just can be open to the subtle vibrations. And that best analogy, Kelly, of the open palm with the feather land, that's the subtlety that they use.
That's
when they
it.
come in.
And it's been my experience too as a medium, that when I'm working with the other side, they will have watched me work. And, you know, I'm not a medium for everybody, but the ones that, and every medium works differently. And I feel that they will go maybe check out this medium, and maybe they'll check out somebody else. And then that person that's coming to see the medium is actually influenced by them.
Totally. 100%. You know, and they're always around us, everybody. They're always around us. They're just, and the more that we are open to it, the more they can present themselves to you.
Yes.
I the other day was trying to get my book going, my second chapter, new book I'm writing, fictional story I'm writing. And I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to do it for a year, but I bought a little tablet to do this, and I opened it up and I'm waiting for it to go on. And all of a sudden I heard spirit say, if you turned it on, it would work. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I forgot about that. I pushed the button, and I heard it loud and clearly. So, I mean, they're always around us, but we, of course, have to get out of the way. You know, we have to get out of the way.
Well, what about this thing? Because this happened to Renee, our producer, the other day. He was telling me about it. And this happens to a lot of people out there, where all of a sudden you're asleep and you hear your name real loudly. How many times has that happened to you?
A lot. Right? I remember, talk about that grandfather again. I was doing private readings in LA when I was doing them. And I remember I just finished a reading. And so the person left my apartment. And I went up, and I remember I had a fish tank in my office. It was a nice fish tank. And I heard him. I just said, I'm going to lie down here on the couch just to rest after that reading. And I heard him so clearly say, you did a good job there, James. And it was so loud. It was loud. I was like, wow.
Right? Yes.
It happened.
So they can do that. They can also speak out loud like that.
They can do that.
It's rare, but it does happen.
They can do it. And of course, that was a room that I was using for physical mediums too. We were sitting in development circle there as well. And that's where I used to go into trance. So another way that spirit comes through to everybody to communicate is and most everybody here has it every single day. I bet you wouldn't know it. It's called inspiration. So spirit comes through inspiration. Inspiration means in spirit. So the thoughts that you have, they can inspire you. They can come down and feed you thoughts, feed you creative thoughts, feed you different ways of doing something. All the time they're around that. So that's another easy way to come through to us and communicate with us.
I've always thought that some, like well-known musicians, all of a sudden a song comes into their head. If they don't grab that song, does that song go to somebody else? I wonder.
I wonder about that too, because I've composed music, as you know. I did a whole score, and it was on an airplane, and it's really great music. And I know they were feeding me that.
Yes.
And it's just, but yeah, then you wonder if it's a zeitgeist, if it's up there somewhere and we just pull it down, or if some spirits are coming, our teachers, inspirers.
Inspirers, that's what I think. Yeah.
Feeding us. I think we're all vessels, and I think that we have, I don't know, just getting a sense of like tuning a guitar, tuning like a pitchfork, tuning in. So they tune into our vibration. They send out those thoughts that will help us. And again, the more open we are, the more we can reach them, and the more they can reach us.
It's interesting. Juliet Capulet says, I think it wants me out of my house. When she hears voices, she says, she thinks that they want, to get her out of the house.
Why would they want to get out of your house?
Well, I will tell you, James, I was actually asleep and I heard, Kelly, get up, there's a fire. Get up now, there's a fire. And I wouldn't get up, and I heard it louder and louder. Kelly, get up, there's a fire. And sure enough, my room was on fire. Yeah, so they do work. My poor guides.
They do. No, they do. They warn us all. They do.
I think they do. I think they can give us some warnings.
I was almost hit and run accidents.
Right? Yeah.
But that's the gasoline thing. So I was like, thank God.
That's right. No, that's true.
I was on La Brea Boulevard back in 1987. If I didn't listen to that voice, it said, go over there now. And I did. And I'm hearing bang. And it was a car went right into my car.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, in the tank. So it was an old car, 1967. Palette was. I was just in LA, and
Oh,
and that
my
was
gosh.
your voice that said, now. I got many times it's happened to me, actually. And is it a form of mediumship? Yeah. Cold breezes, sure. That's
cold breezes, yes.
Goosebumps, another way for sure.
Yeah. That's what happens to me, James. I get real goosebumps everywhere, and I go, okay, now I know I'm saying the right thing. Here we go.
Validation, right?
Validation, yeah.
And if you set up a way to talk to spirit and say, this is how I work, and this is what I teach mediumship. Yes. I work this way. So like when I first began, the mother side would be on the right side of me, in my mind. The father's on the left side. And for me, it was a reference point. So I call the reference library. So and everything the mother to pertain to the mother was on the right side. That was on from my own way of unscrambling things. It was like a chess game, really. And it gives the spirit guides direction, because you can't just leave it up to them. You really have to give them some clues here. And so it's like, you got to give them directions that you can work best. You work with your guides. They work with what they have. But if they know that you have directions, which way you want them to, what seat you want them to take, they will do that. So we should always be in contact with those guides, our helpers, our inspirers, if ever we're going to do spiritual work, whether it's mediumship, whether it's inspirational speaking or creative work, definitely think we should work with them and be open to it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This is interesting because someone just passed by talking about their child. This has come up a lot lately. A lot of children passing over, and parents have contacted me. I heard it 3 times yesterday at the center, and people have sent me books. And I just want to say that when children pass over, and I wrote a book about this, I do believe that before we come back in the incarnation, that there might be an agreement that soul's going to leave at that particular time as a child, and that we have agreed upon that before we incarnate. Because many times that child becomes one of our guides, and our soul's work will be complete until that soul is the other side, helping us to finish our destiny here. Right. So it does happen, everybody. Not every situation, but that certainly is true to some of them. Sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement, James. There's always something here to learn about all of this. All right, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Okay, bye. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.